Hey guys, it's Kim, and today we're talking about Of Heart and Wings by Debbie McQueen. So, look at that cover. How beautiful is that? So, Debbie McQueen is somebody that I met through Jaylanders. She is a very active member of Jaylanders. She's also an author, and I believe she wrote this series for her child, which is, it just adds to the cuteness factor, honestly. So, this book is very heartwarming. Like, you see the smile on my face because I'm smiling thinking about how much I smiled while I was reading the book, because it's just super cute and very heartwarming, and I just really enjoyed it. It is a dual POV between Raiden and Egan. It is a LGBTQ fantasy romance, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. So Raiden is the prince of his realm, right? And Egan is the stepson of a blacksmith in town. And Raiden is outside trying to like clear his mind, right? And he sees something glistening in the waterfall, and he decides to climb up and see what it is. Like, that dude, that never ends well. Books and horror movies, going to check out whatever it is that made the noise or that you thought you saw, it's never a good idea. Like, it's never going to end well. So, of course, what happens? Calamity happens. Raiden is saved, and there's kind of this instant connection. Like, I don't want to say, it's not insta-lust, it's not insta-romance. It is this instant connection and bond, and just kind of, you know when you ever meet somebody and you just feel like your souls know each other, right? Whether it's romantic or just friendship or whatever, but you have that, as it said, like kindred spirit, right? And that's kind of what they have going on. Raiden, because of everything that's happening, so there's this terrible king in this neighboring realm, and he's just awful. He's the worst. He's terrible. And because of what's happening, Raiden has to protect his, I don't know why. Raiden has to protect his people, and Egan is trying to protect Raiden. And as the story goes along, their relationship changes and evolves. And also Egan's world gets bigger. So you're starting to see that the beginning of the character growth for both of them, because this is the beginning of their trial, right? They're fixing to walk through some things, okay? And in the end, they decide that they're going to face this coming war together with the help of their family and their friends and their allies. And so it's a super cute story, and it's definitely worth a read. Like I said, I give it 4.5 stars. It's really good. You should definitely check it out. There was nothing that I didn't like, and I think it's definitely worth a read. So that's the spoiler-free review. Now we're on to the spoilers, because this is a series. So there's going to be several more books. So I shall be going into the details here. So Raiden is the prince of the 6th realm. And Raiden's father, the king, was trying to help the people of the 5th realm, which is the neighboring realm, by entering into a treaty with their king, Tarjak. Well, Tarjak says he's going to come sign the treaty. And when the king, the good king, and his men get to the meeting place, they're attacked and ambushed. And so the king is injured, and Raiden now has to be the acting monarch, right? His mother died when he was really young. And so it's just him and his younger brother and their dad. So he's out hunting, trying to like clear his mind, because he's thinking about everything that's happened with his dad. And he sees something shining in the waterfall and decides, hey, I'm going to go up there and see whatever it was I saw in the waterfall, which, why? Like I said, that doesn't end well. So, of course, he's climbing. It's a waterfall. The rocks are wet. He slips and falls. A dragon, yes, a dragon. It's got dragons. A dragon catches him, and he's kind of freaking out, because the dragon is like holding him in his talons, like all tight. And so he takes out his dagger and he's stabbing at the dragon, which, come on, dude. He just saved your life. So he's stabbing at the dragon with his dagger, and the dragon like takes him to safety, and then he apologizes. He's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know like what was going on. And they're kind of like having this moment, him and the dragon. Like it's like they're looking at each other, and you feel like he's going to reach out and pet the dragon, but then he hears somebody calling his name, and it's his soldiers coming to look for him. So he turns around, and of course the dragon is gone. So the king is recovering, and he holds a meeting asking for a task force to do some recon and figure out what kind of weapons Tarjak has, because this is a fantasy, right? So they fight with swords, but somehow the king was shot. So I think that Tarjak and his people have developed guns or gotten guns from somewhere or something. It's guns. Okay. So Raiden is pulling guard duty because even though he's the prince, he still has to do his duties just like everybody else. And part of that means pulling guard duty because he's part of the army. So he's pulling guard duty when Egan comes through with his cart heading to his stepfather's blacksmith shop. And they kind of have this moment, right? And like the other guys notice that they have this moment. And when he lets Egan through the gate, he notices the scar on his arm in the exact place where he was stabbing at the dragon. He's like, so later, Raiden comes to the blacksmith shop when he gets off duty and asks to see Egan. And they're like talking, and he tells him that he wants to see him again and hang out some more. And Egan's like, yeah, sure. So Egan's stepdad, Tarek, is just kind of a jerk. Like you can just tell, because Egan has 2 half-sisters. And you can just tell that Tarek basically doesn't want, like, he's basically like, whenever you turn 18, you out of this house, bruh. You ain't staying here. So he's just kind of a jerk, okay? So he wants to make some samples for the prince because the prince said he was going to come back. Really, the prince is coming back to see Egan and hang out, but Tarek wants to try and make a sale. So he wants to make some samples, and he's got these gemstones, right? And one of them is like a malachite, I think. And Egan wants that. And Tarek's like, what are you going to do with it? You don't need it, blah, blah, blah. And Egan's like, well, just take my wages, until it's paid for. And he's like, he's just a jerk, okay? So anyway, Raiden comes back to the shop. Egan is meanwhile wearing this gemstone in his, in a pouch around his neck. And so when Raiden comes back, he's looking over all the samples that Tarek has made and says, well, I'll take 6 of these goblets. So then he asks to borrow Egan for the day, and Tarek's like, yeah, here, have him. I don't want him. And Egan tells Raiden, they're hanging out and they're talking, and Egan tells Raiden that his father was killed by Tarjak's men, the villain in the neighboring 5th realm. And Raiden takes Egan to the castle and shows him the library. Well, while they're there, they find a piece of parchment saying that the first Dragon King promised some land to the dragons as a gift. So they're trying to determine, they're looking at the maps trying to figure, because of course that was hundreds of years ago, so things are different now. So they're trying to figure out where on the map this land was when there's all these shouts from outside. So Raiden runs to see what's going on, leaves Egan in the library. The recon group has returned, and there's one dead, and the commander, Harla, is severely burned. So Raiden calls for Dana, the one who helped his father, to come help Harla. So Raiden goes back to the library, and Mr. Sork, who's the guardian of the library, kicks them out and tells them that they should go check out the East Tower, that the sky is perfect tonight. So they do, and it's it's very cloudy and overcast. There's so much fog that you can't even see the ground. So they're like, why would he tell us to come up here? Raiden is just kind of overwhelmed by what's going on because Harla is kind of his mother figure, right? Since his mom died. And so he's just having a hard time. So Egan holds him while he cries. And then Egan is looking around, he's like, oh, I get it, why Sork wanted us to come up here. And he shifts into a dragon and takes Raiden for a ride to the forest. And so they share a fire, and they sit around the fire, and they talk, and Raiden tells Egan, what happened with the recon team, that they got attacked by Tarjak's men. So they fall asleep in the woods holding hands. How cute is that, y'all? And they wake up holding hands, and Egan flies them back towards the castle. And when Egan gets back, Tarek is PO'd because he's been out all night, right? But Egan actually like apologizes and Tarek calms down, and it's kind of like, you know. So when Raiden gets back, his father is meeting with the council, and they find out from the recon group that Tarjak is preparing for an invasion. So they think that Tarjak plans to invade the 6th realm. So the king assigns Raiden to take a team to go to the 3rd realm to get allies. So Raiden gets to his room. Excuse me, y'all. The time difference. So Raiden gets to his room, and his younger brother, Cairn, is there. And they talk, and Raiden kind of, I think, realizes that with all this going on, he's kind of neglected just being a brother with his brother. And so he wants to take that time. Like, how cute is that? So he's like, hey, let's play kickball. So they're like playing kickball when Egan shows up. Like, Egan was literally walking up to the gate to see him, and they come out to the gate. So Raiden and Egan are talking, and Raiden tells Egan what's going on with the others, and Egan's like, oh, my family. Raiden's like, I'll talk to the king, get him to bring them into the castle. Because, you know, back in the day, so the people that lived in the surrounding village would go into the castle during times of siege because that was the walls that offered them protection. So Raiden's like, I'll talk to the king, get him to bring your family inside the castle. So Raiden wants Egan to go with him to see the queen of the 3rd realm. So Egan agrees, and Raiden takes his hand, takes him to meet the king. So Raiden gets Egan to write a letter to his mother to let her know to come to the castle. And he sends it with a messenger, and they go meet the king, and the king likes Egan. And Raiden takes Egan to his room, and they study the maps, but they still can't get anywhere. Like, they're just looking at the maps until their eyes go cross, but they're not getting anywhere, right? So they give up, and they pack for their journey, and Raiden asks Egan to stay the night. And it's so cute because, like, he's super nervous. It's just cute. So Raiden wakes up, like, laying all up on Egan, and he's like, oh my God, embarrassing. And then he realizes that Egan is awake and has been, and so even more embarrassing. So they go to the armory and, like, arm up, and they head out, and Raiden's father gives him a scroll and a gift for the queen. So Egan rides with Raiden because Raiden's like, look, you just ride with me because it'd be easier than train you how to ride a horse. So they're riding together, and when they stop for the night and make camp, Egan goes to hunt and comes back with 4 marmots, which are like big rats, I think. They're like groundhogs. I had to Google it because I was like, a marmot? What's a marmot? We call them groundhogs. So anyway, Raiden and Egan take first watch, and Egan tells Raiden that he's been drawn to them since they met. And I was just like, oh, baby, you telling him about your feelings. So then Egan kisses him, but Raiden doesn't kiss him back. So he's freaking out thinking, oh my God, I have these feelings for this person. He doesn't have these feelings for me. And so he turns to walk away, but then Raiden grabs him and plants one on him. And so then they're literally like in the forest making out while they're supposed to be on watch, and Egan senses a bear like heading towards the camp. So he's like, you go warn the men and I'll take care of the bear. So Raiden goes and kicks dirt on the fire so they don't draw attention from the bear, and tells the men, and they like bury what's left over of their marmots, and they just stay quiet. And Egan comes back and kisses Raiden, and Raiden's like, we need to tell my dad about us, you know. And Egan's like, oh, he already knows, because when they met the king, like when they went to walk out, the king is like, Egan, and he's like, you know, I think that my son really likes you, and I think it's a very good thing. So that's why Egan's like, oh, your dad already knows. Like, literally everybody knew but them two, kind of thing. So they get to the 3rd realm and they meet the queen, and like, and I wrote, I think she wants to eat Egan for a snack. Cause she's just like, who'd you bring me, Raiden? And Raiden's like, hold up, I ain't bring you nobody. This mine. So Raiden tells tells her that Egan is his companion, and she like, it clicks and she gets it. So Rain tells her about Tarjak, and she's like, yeah, absolutely, I'll help you. So she orders them into some decent clothes because they literally have 2 changes of clothes. One that they've been riding in this whole time, in the several days, whatever, that took them to get here. And then a clean pair that they changed into, like, they washed in the creek, changed into these clothes, and went to go see the Queen. And she's like, oh no, honey. Because apparently this is like the court of fabulousness where this Queen is at. And she, like, ain't about to have these boys up in there looking like hobos. So she orders them into some decent clothes so they can eat dinner together. And then she ends up, so she has this clothier, this person who actually like pulls them into a room and says, you wear this and you wear that. And they look so good that she's like, oh, it would be a shame to see somebody else in those suits. You keep them. So she gives them the suits, and she asks them during dinner like how they met. And Raiden tells her. And then after dinner, they're like, okay, well, we gotta, go head out and lead the army and handle our business. And she's like, okay, well, good luck. So after dinner, they head out and address the troops. And Raiden gives this like really rousing speech. And then they ride off with their army. And that's the end. So yeah, it's just like super cute. And I really liked it. Like I'll be honest, like I bought it because it was Debbie's book, because I knew her, right? And that was the only expectation I had, was I'm going to read this because it's Debbie's book. But I ended up really enjoying it because it is just super cute. And even if I didn't know the author, I would enjoy this book, is what I'm trying to say. Like, so you should read this book, especially if it's on sale for 99 cents. You should totally read this book. So, Of Heart and Wings by Debbie McQueen. That is it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.